Now, I don't want to talk about coalitions actually, because I think they're a bit irrelevant. And I think actually when we have done, we lose support because people want to know what's distinctive about us. They want to know why they should vote for us, not why we should vote for some sort of deal that's going to be cooked up after the election. And my experience of many elections now, both as the party's economic advisor and as an MP and candidate, is talk about yourself. And when we don't talk about ourselves, and we talk about ourselves in relation to other parties, we do less well. So I've answered a question about coalitions, but very clear, when I'm interviewed in the general election, I'll be talking about us and making it clear that they should go and talk to the other party about coalitions, because we'll be the largest party. It was smoking. And it was when we were banning smoking from all pubs, restaurants and so on. And while I agree with that 95%, I thought it would be right to be able to allow smokers to be in a sealed room with ventilation where staff didn't have to go, so the staff didn't get the indirect effect of the smoke. But if you wanted a smokers club where you just smoked, you should have the freedom to do that. And I forget what the amendment was called. I think it was just the railway carriage amendment, this idea that you could all go in a railway carriage and smoke to your heart's content and not affect others. And while I've given up smoking, I'm not pro-smoking, let me be absolutely clear, there was a bit of me which felt there was a bit of freedom being taken away from people. That while, following John Stuart Mill, we should make sure that my actions weren't harming you, so not smoking in front of you when you didn't want to smoke, or a staff member having to come and clear up while I was smoking, and got that bit of freedom. But the idea you couldn't have a smokers club for smokers who just wanted to smoke and not affect anyone else, that seemed to me a trespass on liberty too far. We should be aiming to make Britain the best educated and most skilled nation in the world within a decade. And that should be almost like a JFK, we're going to put a man on the moon, JFK said a man on the moon, excuse me, and by the end of the decade, and the Americans did, because the whole of government focused on that. Wouldn't it be great, is as well as stopping Brexit and tackling the climate emergency, within a decade, Britain was the best educated and most skilled nation in the world. That would power our economy, but boy, would it begin to tackle the ingrained injustices and social injustice in our society. Council tax is my least favourite tax. Absolutely appalling. It's, property taxes have a role in our society, but the council tax is a poll tax with a property tax built on it. It's the most unfair tax. I ran a campaign when I was local government spokesman, 2003-2005, called Scrap Council Tax, Axe the Tax. I think I even met my wife, partly through a housing policy working group, shows how sad I am, but also through a Scrap Council Tax rally that we had at the Brighton conference. So I'm making all these confessions after that. Council tax is appalling, so unfair, has to go. Favourite tax? Well, I haven't mentioned land tax. I mean, I know it's a sort of a traditional liberal call, but that's because it's right. And I think land tax is good because you tax the landowner, who often is extraordinarily wealthy. You can't escape it because they can't move the land, so you minimise avoidance costs. And land it's not a resource you can be entrepreneurial with, it's just the land. And it's, in economic terms, you just get this rental income from being the landowner. A rentier society, we should be taxing the rentiers and redistributing that money to create a fairer society. So land tax has got huge economic positives about it, and doesn't distort economic activity in the way that other taxes do. So yeah, I'm a land taxer. We've been a free trade party forever. Since our founding, and I'm a free trader. I mean, there are issues that one has to tackle. I was the trade minister for 2 years. I helped publish a white paper on trade investment, looking at all trade patterns across the world. That's one of the reasons why we have to stay in the European, one of the many. But I also went to the WTO. I mean, when I hear these Tories talk about WTO rules, I just think they clearly do not understand anything about economics or World Trade Organization rules. I had a very interesting conversation with Pascal Lamy, the then DG, all about how trade patterns were changing around the world and how we need to respond to them. So, you know, I think liberals, the Liberal Democrats in particular, and Social Democrats should be supportive of free trade, and the only restrictions on that are things that to do with values that we want the world order to uphold. So things like labour rights. You need rules to prevent the abuse of children, of course. We need rules to make sure that we aren't despoiling our planet and making climate change even worse. And so we need to have those values within the trade system, because for me, I believe markets and trade are our servants, not our masters. So I believe in free trade, I believe in market forces, but they shouldn't rule us, we should rule them. My response to the Greenbelt is this. I've seen Greenbelt in different parts of London, which I would not describe as the Greenbelt. They're zoned as the Greenbelt, but they're not really the Greenbelt. And I would defy people to say that particular land, zoned however many decades ago, has any ecological value, or even any amenity value. That's not the case for all Greenbelt. Let me be absolutely clear. There's some.
What about farmland?
When we come to farmland, let me finish this point, but I won't avoid the question. My position borders onto a lot of Greenbelt land. There is some Greenbelt land which I would lay down in front of the bulldozer to protect. There is other Greenbelt land which I would want to direct the bulldozers to. And you know, the idea that there is a one-size-fits-all is a nonsense, and we need to sort of think a little more intelligently about that, and not give in to the NIMBY approach.